Okay, welcome back for the third time, everyone. Hopefully this time around it's working. Can I get a 1 in the chat if the audio sounds normal? Um, I haven't actually changed anything, but I completely closed out. Oh, thank heavens. Thank heavens. I was like, well, I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I just ended up closing out completely, going completely offline temporarily, and then just reconnecting. Okay, I can breathe a sigh of relief. That is good to know. That is very good to know. I'm sorry for the screw ups, whatever it is. I'm guessing it's probably something to do with the weather. Um, who knows? Who knows with this sort of thing? Could be any number of things. Yep. Turn it on and turn it back off again. Turn it off and turn it back on again, and there you go, fixed. I now understand why so many people constantly make comments about StreamYard, because StreamYard sucks, basically. To put it in a nutshell, StreamYard sucks. I'm not gonna go back to playing Harsh and JLR because I just don't want to just listen to that again, and I'm done with that. I just want to move on. I just want to move on. Um, let's start with something just slightly amusing. This is a classic example of arrogance, stupidity, and who knows what else.
In my opinion, and Belinda has a lot to answer for. And we're not going to let go, people, okay? They can try to discredit us, and they can try to do whatever they want. We got it. And you got the screenshots, and I looked at them, and this is already, we're not going to stop with that. So when a lawyer contacted, Anita and said, we can go against Ninchi right now.
And
we can
Mike,
shut her down.
So the latest story, if you didn't quite catch that, while he's jabbering away like some sort of chimpanzee, apparently a lawyer contacted Anita and said, we can shut her down. Talking about me. I don't know what Belinda and Darlene has a lot to answer for. The crap that he's been putting out on his channel about Belinda, about Darlene, about me, about pretty much everyone, because this guy feels threatened by the entire world, apparently. I am documenting everything that he has said about Belinda, and putting it together in a format that I can then take it directly to RCMP and report it, and it will be both him and Anita that are being reported, because exactly, Bonza, he has a lot to answer for. A lot. And sure, you can make your live streams members only as soon as you're finished. Good for you. But honestly, you want to come at someone like Belinda, who has spent 12 months exhausting herself, going through emotional, I can't even think of the right word because it's beyond trauma. And you want to come at her. Well, you know what, Vodka Man? If you think you are going to come at Belinda, you've got me to deal with. And trust me, you are not going to get away with that. There's a lot about people out here who have so much respect for Belinda, and I don't care what you are saying to your subscribers or your members. What you're doing is unethical. It is despicable. So I'm just going to say right now, you want to go at Belinda? I'm not going to bother her with your BS because she's got enough to worry about herself. But trust me, I am working on this in the background. And you are going to regret every single negative thing that you have said about Belinda Gray. Just trying to get that. Looks like someone's got his snooze in the bottle again. I don't think he ever gets his snooze out of the bottle. I don't think either of them ever get their snooze out of the bottle. But I mean, to go at Belinda constantly, and now, and now apparently some lawyers contacted Anita, and they're going to shut my channel down. I'm still trying to figure out what they could possibly claim to shut my channel down. But I'm just not going to waste my breath on that woman any further because seriously, like, what's the point? Yeah, apparently it's $7.99 for his membership. So, go figure. Well, Charlotte, he didn't actually say. And of course, they're not going to produce receipts to show who it was that allegedly contacted Anita and said, hey, let's shut this channel down. They can try, but I know the rules for YouTube intimately, and I've done nothing wrong. I can prove I've done nothing wrong. Not that I have to prove I've done anything wrong, because they would have to prove that I did something wrong. So, yeah, fill your boots, vodka man. Go and have another couple of bottles of vodka, okay? Good to see you are here with us, Crazy. And I hope things are feeling a little bit better for you right now. Anyway, I won't go down that road. Honestly, gotta love some of the morons that have come out in this case. It is truly a circus. Yeah, exactly. It's jealousy. He is still carrying on about claims that Charmaine has stolen his content for the last 4 months, or copied his content for the last 4 months, or whatever it is he's trying to say. And I'm like, why would Charmaine even bother? I don't know what he's trying to claim. All I can think is that it's probably a typical situation again where he's probably moved on and he's probably plagiarizing Charmaine and then telling his viewers that she's copying him, because that seems to be the way he functions. Anyway, let us move on from that. Oh, look. Sometimes I'll tune in briefly during one of his live streams for a bit of a laugh, because I'm just gobsmacked that people can actually be that ridiculous. But, totally relevant. He's just turned his channel into a complete utter joke. That's what I'm thinking, Bonza, because usually that's what he does. He will steal someone's content, he will plagiarize their content, and then essentially he'll tell his viewers that that person is plagiarizing him. So it sounds to me that Charmaine must be doing some really good work at the moment, and that he thinks her work is pretty good, so he's sharing it with his viewers. That's my take on it. He might think that he's getting away with all this BS right now, but sooner or later it does catch up with people. Yes, Mayflower, the truth always surfaces. And I hope that Charmaine realizes that those of us who have a brain know that she's not plagiarizing his content or stealing his content or whatever the story is. Just the crap that comes out of that guy's mouth at the moment. Maybe he does need to drink a little bit more of his vodka just to sterilize it. Yes, stay in your own lane. Okay, give me half a moment. I'm just going to allow my brain to just have a quick reset. So I'm going to just go with an oldie but a goodie.
I'm a math man, yeah, I count cans, live in a trailer with rusted pants. Mom's dog's bald, it's got no flair, lost all its hair, and it don't care. Pink blankets, lies I've told again, footprints vanish like phantom friends. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper with a rotor spin. I rake my driveway for mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed.
I like this one better, I think.
Not allowed on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching cold, it's like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia swims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, faster than wind, stronger than a chopper when the rotors spin. I rake my driveway for mom shakes her fist. Super Daniel, yeah, I can't be missed. No out on Mama's ATV. She says I drive it recklessly. X wrote her name on my mirror in red. Now I'm searching covers like I lost my head. Dirt roads, rivers, waist high deep. Virginia swims, I puff and leap. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, on my time. I'm Superman, Daniel, arrogant and bold, strutting pop lines in the cold. Work one day a week at the sawmill grind. Super Daniel, yeah, on my time.
Even with me running through the woods over the head of the helicopters and head of the drones and stuff like that.
That's a good one.
Gotta love Justin. I am so grateful for him for that song because it's certainly a good one for resetting when it's been a slightly crazy morning. And I must remember to email him and try and reschedule our live stream. I'll try and sort it for the next couple of days. So maybe one of my mods can remind me after the live stream that I need to email Justin and try and set a new date for a live stream with him and Daphne and myself. Okay, so given that it is now like way after when I should have been starting, and I've really done nothing, thanks to who knows what, gremlins, I guess. Right, I've got so many things up here that I'm not sure which is the right one to click on now. Okay, cross your fingers that I'm clicking on the right one. Okay, so, well, cross fingers. If it's the wrong one, I'll just switch it out. But let's go on to listening a bit more of Daniel.
Able to see the screen? Like, I don't know what you're seeing,
Yeah, I
but are you
can.
able to see
Yeah,
the
I
screen?
can.
Okay, so this question from Marie Antoinette: can Daniel confirm what the children were wearing, because the flyer passed around shows a completely different outfit yet again? So what do you think of this poster that was given to the searchers this time around? And do you have any comments on the clothing scene, the pull-up? Is it remotely similar? Like, what do you think?
Okay, I'll just quickly bring that up. So this is what she's showing him with, of all things, like a sandy coloured jacket, which I don't know why that is on there. I don't know if this is just Cheryl and Malaya getting creative or what the story is, but this is what they were sharing around the time of the search, and that's what she's asking him about.
No. The only thing right on there is the boots and the backpack that I can recall. I'm not sure what those pants have on them or what they say on the side as a say. I'm not sure. And
I think that's the Under Armour logo on
uh,
sweatpants.
I do believe the black Under Armour pants, from what I recall, are in the bags of clothes that investigators came and got to bring to. They went to Cheryl's house.
Okay, here's the thing with Daniel and Cheryl coming out about different clothing or different things. We know that both sides are playing games here. Daniel has said so many different stories about the children's clothing, and oh, hush hush, but the things that they've described them as being missing in, I don't think they're really the things that they were missing in. And now we have Cheryl introducing this doll that is allegedly missing as well, which none of us have heard anything before. The RCMP have never said anything about it. I believe that the Foggy woman emailed the RCMP about it, and they basically gave a no answer kind of answer that they usually do. You have this jacket that Cheryl has now suddenly, or Malaya, or who knows, has suddenly introduced, that's got nothing to do with anything we've previously heard. So it sounds like there's just a lot of manipulation going on with them all trying to throw shade at each other. So my thoughts are, I am going to, and I'll just put this up, I'm going to stick with what we've been told by the RCMP. So all we know is that they were supposedly wearing these gumboots. We know that they supposedly had that backpack. The description that we have, and if I can just find the media for that, which I think is this.
4-year-old Jack Sullivan and 6-year-old Lily Sullivan were reported missing around 10 this morning. Lily might be wearing a pink sweater, pink pants, and pink boots, and Jack is believed to be in his blue dinosaur boots.
That's whoops. Okay, that's not working. That's all we've been told. So I'm not going to put a lot of weight in what he's saying or what Cheryl's saying. Yeah, exactly. Now, if I had that picture on, I should have put that picture onto the MacBook. You've probably all seen the photo that he sent Belinda of all the clothes and stuff in clear bags on a driveway. And yet in one of these recent live streams, he's like going, well, they must have switched them into different bags because I didn't put them in clear bags. Yeah, I think, let me just have a quick look because I think Chaucer got this sorted for us. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through my photos. And if you've seen, recently I bought sun visors for Chaucer and Belinda, or sunshades for Chaucer and Belinda for their cars. And the photos, there we go. The photos that I used for that were, and I'll just pull this off. These two photos are the ones that I believe that Chaucer did a lot of digging at the very beginning and was like, these are the most recent photos of the children. That is my understanding from Belinda and Chaucer and everything else. So the school photos were quite old, but I think these are the most recent photos. Correct me if I am wrong, but that is my understanding. Anyway, just kind of checking where I'm at with this. Yeah, apparently they never saw Jack that morning. And I guess that's why I don't know who Samuel Bird is, Justice for Jack and Lily. But I always, yeah, so it's a year since he was murdered. I will have to look into that after this live stream and educate myself. I apologise that I don't know about that one. They are utterly, utterly beautiful. Okay, let's keep going. But certainly I think when it comes to the clothes, I'm not going to dwell on it too much because I think they're playing games. There were 2 separate deliveries of clothes to Cheryl's house by Major Crimes Unit. First, 7 bags of clothes, then at a later date, bags that had clothes, toys, and incidentals. Right. So it was in Edmonton. Someone called Brian Farrell did it, and they say he's covering for his daughter. Wow. Definitely, I will definitely Google it after my live stream. You could always email me a link if you get a chance, but wow, yeah. That's a really good question, Alana. If they went through those bags, they won't tell us. And that's not the audio, that's me. Just give me half a sec while I just have a quick scull. Well, that's the thing, Bonza. Daniel's got 2 other children, 2 older children. Just maybe that could be something that his daughter liked and he decided to put it in their bedroom instead and keep it. Or maybe, like I've speculated before, it could be that... No, you'll find justice for Jack and Lily. I will find it. It could be that the doll was a gift to Lily by someone in particular, and that he has, out of spite, chosen not to hand it over or damage it or something like that. There could be all manner of reasons. Again, I'm not... Unless the RCMP come out and mention the doll, then it's not something I want to dwell too much on. Because one of two things is happening here. Either, well, one of three things actually. Either this is just another game by the people closest to this case, Cheryl, Malaya, Daniel, or Daniel's intentionally not handed it over for some reason, or it never existed. Now, the fact that this has not been brought up by RCMP, if this was not some sort of game and they genuinely believed the doll was missing, then Cheryl is an idiot for bringing it up. Because if something like this doll has not been made public by the RCMP and it is a real thing, then there would be a reason for them holding that information back. So when investigators hold information back in a case, they do it for a damn good reason. So if this was a real thing, if this is something that genuinely is missing, and Cheryl decided to come out and tell the media and tell a search party that this doll is missing, she may have screwed up something big time for this case. I saw someone put up there that they think that Cheryl is playing both sides, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. I spoke to Chelsea recently about those stockings, and there's still no sign of them. So it would be interesting to know what happened to those stockings, because it's sad. It really is. You know, it's not like she was asking for a whole bunch of things. She was just asking for stockings, one of which was Cody's from when he was little, one of which she made for the children, or for Lily. It's not a big ask. So, and we know that they were there because you can see at least one of them there on the bag of clothes. So where did they go? Because the RCMP wouldn't have lost them. So either he added them to the bags, took the photo, and then didn't put them with the clothes, or Malaya decided to keep them, or Cheryl put them somewhere, or... yeah. Actually, hang on. No, when you look at it, and I wish I had that on my MacBook now. It does look like the same stocking, because there's a photo of these guys, and it would take me forever to find it because I've got a lot of photos. But next time you see on my channel, there's a photo, and I'll try and find it for tomorrow's live stream. There's a photo of Jack, and he's got a big Hershey's Kisses thing in front of him. And off on the side, you can see his Christmas stocking. Now, that could be a possibility. That could definitely be a possibility. I would imagine that major crimes probably would have wanted to go through those bags of clothes. But, that's only speculation. But that's a good possibility. I hadn't actually considered that. Okay. Now, I finally fixed the banner for Charmaine, so I'll put that link up for Charmaine's channel, and let's keep going with this audio.
And as it goes for Jack's description, Jack's dark navy spring windbreaker coat is missing. So that means that Jack left the property with a navy blue spring jacket coat on, just a solid navy blue spring windbreaker. And that's for 100% accurate.
Okay. I want to comment on the wording there, because the thing that really stood out to me is him saying Jack left the property with a navy blue spring jacket coat on. It's a weird way of wording it, and also exactly Buttercup. Apparently none of them saw Jack that morning, and yet he's telling us it's 100% accurate. Bit of an attempt there to be super, super persuasive. So why is he selling us this? But you'll notice anytime him or Janie talk about the children going missing, they always talk about when they left the property. It's just a really odd way of wording it. Yeah, they did have winter coats, because they had winter coats. There was, you could see a really thick lined blue winter coat in that bag of clothes. I wish I had that here on my MacBook. You could also see a pink parka in that bag of clothes. Maybe they grew out of them. So I think it was probably more a case of that they never bothered to actually send them to school with warm things like that. Whoops. I agree, Baby Monkey. I think someone was meant to have found those items, because Daniel really pushed with the backpack and the pull-ups and the boots. Yeah. I remember Belinda talking to me about this, and she's spoken to several people about this. Malaya told Belinda that the kids didn't have their coats. And going back about 6 months ago, and I need to ask Belinda about this, but I'm kind of, I don't want to be asking much of Belinda right now, because I just think Belinda just needs to be allowed to be without people pestering her with questions. But I'm sure that she was asking about Jack's coat about 6 months ago, and then she said that it had been found or it had been located. So I don't know. I think what he's doing here is trying to once again push the narrative of someone connected to Malaya coming into the house and collecting the kids. But he's being very careful about it now, because I think he's been given a warning. But in terms of them not finding any evidence, which was something that Daniel said over and over and over early on in the case. Well, something about, I'm surprised, or they haven't found any evidence. And when he's talking about the backpack, how it's probably brown now with mud, and Jack's probably discarded his pull-up by now. Greenthorn, that could be the case. I would have to go back through that article that came out from that was a Globe and Mail one, I think. I'd have to go back through that article and check it out, because I do recall there was definitely something in the article about the children coming to school with inadequate clothing. But I can't recall if it was actually said it in there in that article about them actually buying clothes for them. What a lot of schools do is they usually have a well, all schools have a lost items box, a lost and found box. And things that have been in there long enough tend to go into like a little clothing store that they save for if they need to change children's clothes at school. Because, children, you always need to have spare clothes on hand at a school, because you never know what they're going to do. The star that was found, here's the thing. That could have come off any kid's backpack in the area. It could have got stuck on somebody's boot and then eventually come off. If you think about in a classroom, you get some teachers are very, very generous with their stickers. And some children love to treasure their stickers and put them on their bags. So I don't think, even if the star sticker was connected somehow, it would be a challenge to prove it had any sort of connection. Yeah. So I think it's probably something that's kind of a no-go. Whether it came off or not, it would be hard to prove if it came off that bag, unless it had fibers on it consistent with that little corduroy bag or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's really much that can be said about that little star. Buttercup, I do too. I think we're getting towards a point where yeah, I think we're getting towards a point where we might be seeing a resolution this year, hopefully. Well, yeah, but the thing is, with the sort of stickers that teachers give out, a lot of the times they're like from companies that sell bulk stickers for teachers, like, a bulk roll of these stars. Or, I know in Australia, a lot of teachers go to the same discount stores and buy stickers to use in their classroom. So the sticker wouldn't be anything unique. There are no photos at all of the corduroy backpack with the strawberries on it. None. You can see in that bag of clothing, you can see the Lol doll bag, but there definitely don't appear to be any photos of Lily with that backpack. There don't appear to be any photos of that backpack. That doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't exist, though. I mean, corduroy white backpack, it is quite possible that there was a rule that it wasn't allowed to go outside. It is possible that it was something that she kept in her room. So, yeah, exactly, Gypsy. And a lot of teachers do, especially when you're talking early childhood. Because with children Jack and Lily's age, the more rewards, the better. You want to make school a really positive experience for them. And, you know, talk to any teacher and ask them how many stickers they go through in a year, especially, like I said, with early childhood. I would imagine that the majority of teachers would say, I've got no idea how many stickers I give out in a year. Because, you know, you might buy a roll that has 200 stickers on it and they're all the same sticker. And you're going to use that up. And you're going to give stickers to multiple children in a day, and you're going to have multiple children with the same stickers. Yeah, see, that story about the backpack being one that is used for a sleepover at Cindy's, I am 100% certain from the way Daniel was saying it, that that's complete utter BS, and that was a story he made up for the purpose of trying to sell the story of Malaya organising for someone to pick up the kids. Yeah, was that Sunny that asked him that? I do recall hearing that. That really stood out to me. That his last memory was walking Jack from the car to the house. Stood out to me in a major way. It is something that I'm going to dig into. Probably in a video. Exactly. So true. And that's what I was saying, you know, some kids, it's such a treasure to get a sticker that they put the sticker on their bag. And if one kid sees a kid putting their stickers on their bag to keep them, then all of a sudden it becomes a thing with that entire class. And you're going to see all these kids at the end of the day walking out of the classroom with their bags covered in stickers. And the stickers tend to stay on there for a very long time until they eventually drop off. So, you think it was the last memory, not last saw? Yeah, I think you're right there, Baby Monkey. I'll definitely have to look into that. Okay, let's go with a little bit more.
And does
And the
he
description
own
was
a
never
tan
changed on
jacket?
it. A tan jacket like that? No.
And what about the Barbie sequin sweatshirt? Does that look familiar to you?
It does kind of look familiar, but I don't know if that's what Lily left her 100% on. I mean, I have my suspicions that's probably what she left in, because, but also too, Lily's pink, she had a pink Justice Spring Breaker coat that was here. So we got all the kids new spring jackets. Jack's is missing.
He really stumbled through that, didn't he? It's that whole pausing, trying to figure out what he's saying, repeating words. There's a narrative here that's being spun, in my opinion. So, first of all, the sweatshirt, like, I have to agree, we've never heard anything about that sweatshirt. I don't know where it came from. He is spinning. But the language here as well, again, he's using that 100% thing. But he's got, I don't know if that's what Lily left her 100% on. That's not even English. He's struggling so much to find his narrative that he can't even form entire sentences here. And now, after previously saying, oh, well, you know, the description of what Lily was wearing is wrong, now he's saying, I have my suspicions that's probably what, you know, what she left in. Again, it's not, I think that's what she was wearing when she went missing. It's what she left in. Or, you know, not what she was wearing that morning. The language here concerns me. And then he's got to go down the narrative of, well, her pink coat is still there. Lucy, it's okay to be late. We were very late starting because this is, as you might be able to tell from the title, this is the third attempt at a live stream this morning because something was going horribly wrong with my audio. Well, here's the thing, especially when it comes to the clothing, he has given so many different stories here. If we can't keep track of it, no wonder he can't keep track of it. He's completely forgotten what he said before. He can't remember what story it was that he's meant to be telling. So he's got to bumble on through and try and guess to see exactly what he's meant to be saying. But he's got no idea. This is what happens when you lie and when you change your story multiple times, especially if you are a tweaker, because you don't have a good memory in the first place. So then when you do try and retell your story, you're kind of screwed because you can't remember which version it is. Yeah, that would be believable. If he'd said, I just honestly don't know. Lily changes her clothes so often, and, you know, I don't think I saw that in the bag, but maybe it was there, but I'm really not sure. I don't know what his problem is, seriously. He just cannot come up with one story for these clothes and stick to it. And that's why I said before that I think this is basically just them playing games. I think Alana, there was also one point where Malaya said that she was wearing pajamas in the documents. Lily was described as wearing pajamas. So again, we've got different versions. And we've got Malaya saying that she put them to bed in the clothes that they wore to town because she was too tired to unpack. Which would then suggest that if there's another part where she's saying Lily was wearing pajamas, that would then suggest that they took them into town with Lily wearing pajamas. I don't know what those two were doing, honestly. It's just a whole bunch of insanity. They can't lie straight in bed, either of them, honestly. Seriously, like, we have someone telling us that Malaya is completely innocent. We have to believe Malaya is completely innocent. Well, Malaya's story's changed a lot too. Malaya couldn't get her story straight, and neither of them can get their story straight when it comes to what the children were wearing, what time they went to bed the night before, what happened that morning. Exactly half moon. You don't have to unpack all the laundry to grab a few things for the kids. The crap from these guys, honestly, neither of them should have ever been given responsibility for children, in my opinion. Oh yes, I agree, baby monkey. Malaya definitely plays a huge role in this. But the effing around over what they were wearing, it's just ridiculous. It wouldn't surprise me, Grover, if they were still wearing the same clothes that they had on Tuesday. Because it seems that even if Malaya was a good mother when she was with Cody, seems like that went by the wayside a long time ago.
Lily's remained. And I always wondered why Lily didn't have her jacket on, right? Because usually when one kid would put their jacket on or their boots, the other kid followed suit. And so if Lily put her boots on, Jack would put his boots on. If Jack put his jacket on, Lily would put her jacket on. But
That's just word salad. Yeah, that's the crazy thing, Half Moon. He's said a few times now that he wanted to get the Dollarama video to see what they were last wearing, but they've told him they can't show it to him because he's a witness. Witness my ass. He was with them all day on the Thursday. They were supposedly playing outside while him and Janie were working on the fence. So if they were wearing exactly the same things when they went to bed as what they'd been wearing all day on Thursday, then what is he going on about? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just... Bonnie, that is spot on. And why won't it let me show your comment? I'm trying to show... Bonnie's comment is, which I can't show for some reason because StreamYard is being stupid. Now it's just putting everything up. Oh my gosh. I swear, StreamYard has got gremlins today. I've forgotten what I was going to say because I was so busy fighting with StreamYard. Oh, it was the comment of, he wants to know what they know. And I can't see who said that because that comment's gone now, and I'm just afraid to touch comments at the moment because it's crazy. But it is. He wants to know what they know. He wants to know what you can see on the camera from Dollarama. Why does he want to know what you can see on the camera from Dollarama? Because it shouldn't be to figure out what clothes they were wearing, because he was with them. Yeah, Baby Monkey, that's the thing. Wade does say that Malaya was messy when she was living with Cody. So I'm not sure what the situation is with all that. But here we go with him now trying to establish that Jack didn't put his jacket on himself, and that he can't remember any of his life. Let me see if I can put this up without things going berserk. That could well be. Could well be. There's certainly something about that video that he wants to see. And it's definitely not about the clothes. He's already claimed elsewhere that he knows what they were wearing because those clothes weren't in the bags of clothes that he handed over. And then we've also got the fact that apparently they never changed their clothes from at least Wednesday night right through till when they went missing. It's when you apply logic, it's like, what the heck? If they've got footage of him in the car park with his friend, they haven't released that information. They could have footage with him with his friend in the car park. I mean, a lot of places like that do have cameras on the car parks. So it is quite possible that they have got footage, but clearly it's something that we're not supposed to know about. Yeah. He established that idea on the turkey show that basically Jack couldn't reach his jacket, and he's going to run with this again. But what he's trying to convince us of here by saying, well, you know, Jack's jacket's missing, but Lily's was there. So he's trying to convince people that it wasn't anything to do with the children, because if Jack had put the jacket on himself, Lily would have put her jacket on too. But that still makes no sense, because let's go into this little fantasy world of Daniel's for half a moment. If what he's implying here is that someone, and I think he was originally trying to convince people it was Cindy, if he's trying to imply here that somebody came into the house, put Jack's jacket on him, and then dashed out with the children, then if they were so concerned about the children getting cold and needing their jackets, even if they suddenly thought we don't have time to put Lily's jacket on her, they would grab Lily's jacket on the way out the door and carry it and put it on her as soon as they had the opportunity. If they really felt that Jack needed his jacket, they would think that Lily needed her jacket. It makes no sense. And no one is ever going to walk inside someone's house and abduct 2 children from inside a house. It's just complete, utter BS from him. And he's working really hard to establish when one kid would put their jacket on or their boots on, the other kid followed suit. You know, we're supposed to believe here that this didn't happen at the kids. The kids didn't do it themselves. Jack didn't collect his jacket. because otherwise Lily would be wearing hers. But the logic doesn't work, because if an adult had decided they needed their jackets and started putting Jack's on and ran out of time, then, like I said, they would grab Lily's jacket. If you were so concerned about the children getting cold, you're not going to just put a jacket on one kid and not bother with the other one. Like, get real. Yeah, and, you know, Janie's dog never barked at anyone going down into the house or anything. He kind of slipped up with what he said. And I'm going to run it back just a little and listen to what he's saying again about Jack and his jacket. Okay, let's get the timestamp first.
And I always wondered why Lily didn't have her jacket on, right? Because usually when one kid would put their jacket on or their boots, the other kid followed suit. And so if Lily put her boots on, Jack would put his boots on. If Jack put his jacket on, Lily would put her jacket on.
Did you catch that? And Jack put his jacket off, and then he's like, Jack put his jacket on, Lily will put her jacket on. Bit of leakage there. Have a think about Janie's audio and her thing that she's always saying about Malaya. How she has to ring Malaya when Jack gets his jacket and his boots off. Sounds like Jack is the sort of kid that doesn't like wearing a jacket. And he's slipped up here and leaked about Jack's jacket. He says off instead of on. I'll just run it back, probably not so far.
Lily put her boots on, Jack would put his boots on. If Jack put his jacket on, Lily would put her jacket on. But
clear as day. There's leakage there from him, and I'd love to know what's going on. I think basically he's admitting that Jack wasn't wearing a jacket when he went missing. Maybe the jacket was used for another purpose. No, most kids don't wear coats. Most kids, you have to stop them and basically demand that they put them on before they go out the door. And if we're hearing from Janie, oh, good point, Bonza. If we're hearing from Janie that she has to ring Malaya to tell her when Jack gets his jacket off, when Jack gets his boots off, that tells you that Jack was not a kid who liked wearing his jacket. That's a good question, Bonza. Did Jack's jacket end up in the fireplace for some reason? Oh, Karen, I could imagine. Putting snowsuits on toddlers has been the cause of many divorces in Canada. I can't even, that's hilarious. I could imagine, honestly. You know, kids and jackets and things, it's just a thing. Yes. It is curious that the dog handler asked him about the fireplace. Were there items of clothing like that jacket that had blood or something on them that were burned? Let's just go down that road for a minute, just hypothetically. We have this Thursday afternoon story of Janie being outside And then she went outside and she claims that the children were still outside when she went in. We also hear her talking about Jack yelling at the children for Friday morning, and we know Friday morning never existed. She also says that after she went inside, she doesn't know when the children went in, and she doesn't know what happened after that because it's none of her business. Is it possible that the children went out to play on Thursday afternoon and that maybe Jack was wearing his jacket Thursday afternoon? And maybe the jacket was burnt in the fire because there was some sort of evidence on it. I hadn't thought about that. Really hadn't thought about that.
Was working on with Jack, trying to get him to learn how to zipper up his jacket, and he has done it before, but I don't see Jack taking his spring jacket and putting it on himself and then leaving, especially with the backsliding door just sealed all the way shut. Most times the kids wouldn't do that. They would leave it open.
He's trying so hard with this narrative right now. Well, you know, Jack, he was learning to zipper up his jacket. So essentially what he's implying here is that Jack was a kid who would take his jacket off. But what he's trying to suggest to people here is that Jack must have zipped it up that morning. And that, well, also, they don't shut that sliding door, so maybe it wasn't them. Yes, in terms of the wood fire, he claimed to the dog handlers that it hadn't been used in ages. But there is a lot of footage from news outlets that show smoke coming out of the chimney at the top of on the roof. So, you know, he lied to the dog handlers even about when that wood stove or wood heater was used. So, yeah, exactly. There's someone coming in. They're going to take just Jack's jacket, not Lily's. They're going to go out and they're going to close that sliding door. I believe so. We've heard from his uncle that there's apparently an electric heater in his bedroom. But that wood stove would be the main source of heat, especially because they get their wood for free. Yeah, Jack couldn't reach his jacket. Now, that's a good point. I know in Australia a lot of people have burn barrels on their properties. Because if you live in a regional area, sometimes it's, if you've got paper rubbish or cardboard rubbish or just branches and stuff that you don't want to break them up and put them in a fire because they're just too bulky, people do have outside burn barrels. Well, there's no sign of anything like that on that property. Yeah, that trailer would be a fire trap, definitely. But it is interesting, definitely. There's nothing in the files about what the kids last ate. Malaya says that she gave them supper or something like that. And then, but there's no real description of what they had. Yes, old washing machine tubs are really good for like outdoors burners as well, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you also said that where the hook was, the hanger was for his
Yeah.
coat, like he can't reach that, and there was no
No,
chair pulled over. It's highly unlikely that a child would
there was no
climb that
chairs
ladder.
moved. There was no signs of the kids were messing around in the kitchen. There was no food taken from the fridge. There was no food taken from the cupboards. All the chairs were pushed in. It's just I still to this day I don't understand how they would have got that spring jacket on and Lily didn't take hers.
He's definitely trying to sell a narrative there. When someone has to come back with, oh, still to this day, I can't figure this out, when they've already said it to you 20 million times, you know they're selling you a story. So him with this carry-on over the jacket is all about selling a story. If they took any samples from the stoves, they certainly wouldn't have let that information out, because the official line we were given with the dogs was they did not find any human remains. So they were very careful in terms of what they were telling us about with the dogs. So I think there's a lot of things in terms of the investigation that they have that they're not going to tell us. And I just don't get this whole notion of Jack poking around in the kitchen, but then Daniel's got to establish this idea that all the chairs were still where they're meant to be, nothing was moved. Like, it's just one big crazy narrative. They're selling us a story. And I don't know what it is they're trying to sell us, but it's just a load of BS. Because you can't apply logic to what Daniel is telling us here. Not about the jackets, not about the kitchen. Like, honestly, who knows? Well, apparently no one spoke to Jack that morning. And that's the other thing. We've had Janie say those comments which suggest that Jack didn't like wearing jackets. We've got Daniel here talking about how I've taught him to, or I'm trying to teach him to zipper up his jacket. And he can do that occasionally, which implies also that Jack wasn't a good one for keeping his jacket on. Well, if Jack was a kid who didn't like wearing his jacket, do you think it's something that he would have just very quietly accepted an adult putting it on him? Because if you've got a kid who's going to go outside and dump their jacket the moment they get outside, then chances are they're going to object to having to put their jacket on. Especially if their sister doesn't have to put her jacket on. But apparently they never heard anything. You just cannot apply any logic to this situation. And the rustling in the kitchen when they've got the television on in the bedroom. Yeah, there were locks. on the cupboards and on the fridge door. So I'm not sure how they could have been rustling around and getting food when the fridge and the cupboards were locked. But you will notice, and I've mentioned this before, when he talks about Jack going into the kitchen to get things, or when he's talking about them getting into the kitchen to get things, he always refers to it in terms of them taking food from the fridge or the cupboards or something like that. It's not like, oh, just grabbing something to eat, but it's always worded in a way like they're not meant to have been taking those things. And the first time that he introduced this concept of Jack rustling around in the kitchen, at the same time, he said something along the lines of, because, you know when children are getting into things or something like that. And I can't remember the quote offhand, but it was definitely connected with him also talking about Jack getting into stuff in the kitchen. I can't see Hemi. If Hemi's in here, welcome, but I can't actually see Hemi. I'm still waiting for my chocolate from Hemi. I just want to say that. Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll push on for just a few more minutes. I know it's getting late because we started late. There is 2 back doors on the trailer. I suspect that other one must be permanently blocked off, because it never comes up as anything in terms of a topic of discussion. And I am going to just quickly make myself a note. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to email Charmaine. If she's talking to Daniel again, I'm going to see if she can ask him about that other back door, the one that's up towards their bedroom, and ask if it was ever used, if it was blocked off, or what the situation is. Shannon's changing her name. Yeah, but you're the OG. And we don't really, most of us don't refer to the other one as Shannon anymore anyway. Yeah, it has a porch on it. All the porches look derelict. But it also kind of doesn't look like it's been opened for a long time. That's what I'm thinking, Karen. Belinda said that the hallway was crowded and you couldn't see down it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was blocked with stuff, which is a bit disturbing when you look at the layout of that trailer, because if there was a fire down the bottom end of the trailer near where the sliding door was, they would have to try and get stuff out of the way to get out that other door. It's all about the spring jacket that Jack couldn't reach, and Jack rustling in the kitchen, but nothing was moved. Oh, that's a good point, Karen. Why get rid of the closets if you have stuff lying around in the hallway? Because closets are a good thing. If you've got stuff lying around in the hallway, wouldn't you rather have it in closets and have your rooms just a little bit more squeezed in, rather than have a major fire hazard where if you get a fire start between where that sliding door is and the bedrooms, you've got no exit. Because when you think about the sliding door, let me just see if what images I've got on this computer in terms of okay, I'm just going to scroll down through my images, see what I can find. I mean, I know you guys know the layout of the house really well anyway, but it's always good to be able to kind of look at images just to really get your bearing. But StreamYard doesn't let me go into folders, so I'm kind of scrolling through a squillion images right now, which is really not helping at all. So I'll give up on that idea. That's just a fool's errand. The front door and the sliding back door, well, they'd be fine if the fire was in the other end of the trailer. But if there was a fire and it was in the end of the trailer where the sliding door is, there's no other exit. It is a major fire hazard. Okay, let's hear about his rabbit hole of theories and speculation, and then I might finish on that.
And that leads down a rabbit hole of theories and speculation and conspiracies that I'd rather not dive into, because I've already, made enough accusations. And as I said at the start of this, I think it's unjustified to do so after a year, because investigators would have, questioned everybody on this. And maybe they do have something, maybe they don't. I don't know. I'm completely in the dark on most things, especially now where I feel that I'm not needed. And I've, had that feeling for a long time, but I still try.
Okay, I'll pause it at that spot. Thank you, Summer Breeze, for the super sticker. Always appreciated. Good stuff. He wants people once again to go and look at Malaya, to focus their attention back on her. But he wants to make it sound like he's not making accusations, because after all, it's unjustified. It's been a year. But you know that that's actually a bit of projection there, because essentially what he's trying to say here is that he doesn't want people making accusations against him because it's been a year. He doesn't care about accusations against Malaya because he's still making these very indirect accusations. So this is all about trying to control the narrative. This is all about trying to convince people that they need to look closely hang on, just give me 2 seconds. Okay, what was I saying? Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Yeah, he's still trying to convince people to look at Malaya and to believe that just maybe Malaya is behind all this. But when he's saying about the accusations, he definitely wants to make sure that people aren't accusing him. So just reading through. I'm completely in the dark on all things, especially now where I feel I'm not needed. Daniel is pissed because they're not keeping him up to date. So he wants to know what investigators know. And he's pissed because they're not keeping him up to date, and that is really, really annoying for him. Because for him, it helps to know what they know, because it allows him to basically know if anything is coming at him. I think they're all getting really paranoid. I think they're all getting really stressed. And I think Daniel's trying even harder to control the narrative. But he knows that he can't outright say anything about Malaya. So instead, he's got to make these suggestions. But then he gives himself away as well when he's saying things like, I'm completely in the dark and I feel that I'm not needed. He's essentially showing us that this bugs him. He was so much happier when detectives were talking to him. He is, Charlotte, he is so desperate. Yeah. They never thought this was going to go worldwide. They never thought it was going to get the attention that it got. They thought that it would be something, I mean, even Malaya said to investigators, you have that in the documents, where she said to them something along the lines of, I thought this would have been over by now. I don't think they really had the faintest idea how many people would see the disappearance of 2 young children as being such a red flag. I think they thought that the investigators would come, they'd search the woods. 6 months on, nobody would remember who Lily and Jack were. But, you know, a case like this, you can be 100% certain that the moment some tool like Daniel gets in front of a camera and content creators see that, you know that that case is going to be picked up by multiple content creators, and that it's going to be something that you are going to be hearing about for a very long time. Because so many of us saw those red flags from day one. And I mean, even the media, they've tried to be neutral, but, you know, there were still definitely things with media that made it pretty clear that they also were thinking the same as us. You just have to listen to the questions in that first news conference. Because a lot of those journalists have covered other cases of missing children. So they know what it looks like in terms of just children wandering off into the woods compared with something that's got huge red flags all over it. So the media were onto this from day one as well, because they saw the signs. But, you know, for Daniel, Janie, Malaya, this case is not going away. If you think this case is going away, do a search on YouTube for Summer Wells. And you will see, because when did Summer go missing? Was it 21 or 22? I think it was 2021 when Summer went missing. I've lost track. Summer Wells went missing 3, maybe 4 years ago. And her case is still being spoken about a lot. So for Daniel, Janie, Malaya, people aren't going to drop this case. People are going to continue to talk about Lily and Jack until there is a resolution. When both a mother and a grandmother don't enter the woods to find kids, it sends many red flags. I do believe, and you can hear on the dispatch, that Malaya was told to stay at the house in case the children came back. I would imagine that Cindy, as Malaya's mother, probably wanted to be with Malaya, thinking that she needed comforting or something. So in terms of Malaya not going searching in those first few days, that's pretty much standard practice with these sorts of things when children go missing, when they're supposed to have wandered off. But the biggest red flag is her upping and completely leaving the area on the Saturday. It's 36 hours after reporting the children missing, and she left the property. That to me is the big red flag. Yeah, I mean, a lot of cases, it's standard protocol not to let family search. I'm not sure why Janie and Daniel and that were still allowed to search. Maybe they were holding off letting them go searching until they had drones and helicopters up in the air to keep tabs on them. Maybe they intentionally let Daniel and Janie go back out once they had their assets up in the air. Because I do believe when they talk about the number of photos they've got from drones and helicopters, when they talk about the number of videos they've got, I have no doubt that they have mapped out Daniel's movements over those first few days of searching. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'd be very, very surprised if they hadn't done that. Because I think they're probably, I mean, you know, when it comes to the things we discuss in terms of red flags, questions and stuff like that, you can guarantee this is stuff that the detectives themselves have come up with. Because that's their job. Yeah, Daniel was running ahead of the helicopters through waist-deep water. Honestly, you got to wonder about them. Yeah, that's a huge red flag, parking in the marsh. I'd love to know what the real story is in terms of what exactly was happening there. Because he kind of changes that story around a bit as well. Daniel built the pyramids. Oh, yeah. Daniel does a lot. Daniel's like a superhero that can do anything. The RCMP are not going to worry about monitoring him because of death threats. If, hypothetically, he had got death threats, they can trace them. So they're not going to monitor him just because someone gives him death threats. They're going to go straight to the person that did it and deal with them. Now, yes, you can have remote drones that you can use to go and observe areas, but I don't think they need to do that. And the only watching him at night, I think the only watching him at night is probably because that's when he's getting into the drugs, and so that's when he's hallucinating a bit more, in my opinion. Oh dear. I love the comments that people are making. So true. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to wrap it up here because it hasn't been a long live stream, but it's been a late live stream because it took over half an hour to just get this thing off the road. Well, to get it up and going. Just trying to pin that. Drone protection, exact same terms that Durwood used. Good point. I missed that, but you're so true. You're so right about that. Thank you so much for everyone who did come back after the failed attempts the first and second time. I was a bit worried that when I came back that nobody would come back with me and that I'd be just sitting here talking to myself and my mods. So I greatly appreciate that people did come back when I got this thing finally up and going. No idea what was going on there. I think StreamYard was just having a moment, clearly. So thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for, once again, keeping the chat classy, for being friendly with each other in the chat, for sharing your wonderful comments in the chat. I very much appreciate everybody who comes and interacts with my channel. Please make sure you hit the like button on the way out because that's always a good thing. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And if you're listening on replay, or even if you're just listening now but you've got other comments that you want to add, please do come and add comments to this because I love reading people's comments. And I've said this a million times. I don't get to respond to everyone's comments because there's just not enough hours in the day, but I do read everyone's comments. And I appreciate everyone's comments. And I also forget to say, feel free to share because that also helps me out. So thank you for coming in, guys. Love you all, and I'll catch you all on the next one.